And so I thought, well, fuck this. Nothing's real. I'm a good person and everyone's abandoned me. Well, fuck it then. I'm just going to do what I want to do.
Hello and welcome to episode number 3 of music.gay. I'm your handsome and humble host, Frankie Jupiter. In this episode, I talked with musician J-Line about the rigors of the road and the insane amount of work that has to happen before a musician ever even takes the stage. We talk about dancing, vetting your tour crew, being comfortable with who you are, and the strength that it takes to come out to your family as a musician. It's funny, it's gay, it's deeply informative for musicians who are just starting up, and it's definitely the J-Line show. So check us out on social media at music.gay, and make sure to let your friends and family know if you think they'll love the show. Now let's fucking do it. My guest today is New York City-based LGBTQ recording artist J-Line. J-Line has garnered well over 1 million streams, millions of YouTube views, a lot of attention, and a truly enviable wardrobe. J-Line's music is undeniably synthy with a sparkling electropop sound that takes you back to the coked-up brightness of the late 80s and the early 90s. J-Line's sound is simultaneously dark, sweaty, and underground, think Berghain on ketamine, and bright, soaring, and high above the clouds, think Puerto Vallarta on MDMA. J-Line goes by he, him pronouns and has just enough Michael Jackson in him that he might answer to he pronouns as well. He gives Britney vibes, MJ vocals, Janet dance moves, Adam Levine sex appeal without all the troublesome scandals and toxic masculinity, and Duffy meets Kylie Minogue level catchy pop banger hooks. His live set is an absolute treat to watch. It's a juggernautical blend of choreography, vocals, and music that leave audiences electrified and quite possibly stupefied. It's a lot of talent all at once. USA Today, Teases and Dares, and Essentially Pop are just a few of the outlets that have praised music from his latest efforts, and J-Line will keep putting out new music all throughout 2024, so keep an eye out for that. And if you do want to catch that live music, J-Line's in the midst of his Dirty Pop Party tour and is probably coming to your town or somewhere nearby, so go visit his website, www.jlinemusic.com, and look up cities and tickets. Google J-Line, visit at J-Line Music on Insta and TikTok, buy, stream, download, share his music. And once you've gotten a fair dose of ear candy, get your eye candy by checking out his videos on YouTube. He will dance his way into your heart. And if you're really lucky, maybe even your pants. J-Line, I'm Frankie. It's so nice to meet you. Welcome to music.gay.
Thank you so much. Do you write bios? Because I swear, I'm listening to him like, this guy sounds amazing. I swear to God, write a bio for me every single day. I will listen to that for the rest of my life. That made me feel really good. Thank you for that.
Deal. Yeah, it's always nice to hear your own accomplishments back and be like, I would date that guy.
I'm like, I did some stuff. All right.
You did. And you're still doing some stuff. And I'd love to talk with you about that stuff. So let's jump right into the start, right? Like, how did you first get into music?
Oh boy. I think I've always been musical and always had that whole thing of dance and music and writing music. And I just don't think, I think as a little kid, you always think that means theater. You always think I'm going to be in a Broadway show or I'm going to be in community theater. I don't think I knew that you could be a quote unquote pop star or a musician in that way until I think maybe like 5th grade. When I started watching award shows and realized, oh, you don't have to be a musical theater person. You can actually write your own music, but dance and sing and put on a show and be theatrical while also, doing your own thing. I was never good at playing parts. I was never good at acting or anything like that. So it always felt like any path I was taking was ultimately going to lead me to being a musician, being a recording artist, because that is where I felt most comfortable and most where the kind of the bing went off. Like, oh, that's what all this is for. The dancing, the singing, the costumes. That's where it all comes together. Yeah. For me, at least.
Yeah. Did you ever doubt it?
I think I thought I would have to find different ways to get there. I mean, when I graduated college, I thought I'll be someone's backup dancer. I'll be in a show. Give me an audition. I'll go to the audition and hopefully that will eventually lead me to being a recording artist. Didn't work out that way. No one wanted to hire me. So I
Yeah.
thought, all right, let's just do the thing. Let's just do the thing without any manager, without anyone helping me. With literally, I had no idea what I was doing. I just dived in and was happier for it. Because I have a feeling if I had been in an ensemble on Broadway or even played like quote unquote Prince Charming in some musical, I would not have been happy.
Yeah.
So I think it worked out for the best in that situation.
What did that path look like? What was, because I mean, I know that one of the things that a lot of the people who are listening are musicians, and they
Yeah.
are like in that kind of startup phase where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, there's all these steps that I have to take. Did you find as you were getting into it, it's like, well, yeah, there are some steps, but you're going to want to take them, or they're not that many steps? Or like, what was that process like for you to get from point A to point where you are now?
I think it's really hard for recording artists because I do think there's a bit of a template if you are an actor, if you are a musical theater.
Yeah, true.
If you do anything else. When you're a recording artist, it is all up to you and everything falls on your shoulder. If a Broadway show closes, they don't really blame the ensemble. They're just like,
Right.
oh, you're in a bad show. You'll be in another good show. If I put out a bad song, that's on me. People
Yeah.
only blame me. So I knew that I needed to work really hard to cultivate the producers, my songwriting ability, my choreography ability, my ability to book my own shows. I needed to figure out a way to be good at all those things because no one else was going to step up and do it for me. So it was actually really complicated. It's still complicated. I have to wear a lot of hats, and I don't know any
Good thing you look so good in them.
I don't know any recording artist that doesn't feel the same.
Yeah,
that
true.
You just think, oh my God, all I did today was the booking aspect of my job, and I do anything creative. What happened to the day? But I've been willing to put in that work because I ultimately have always wanted to do this and wasn't going to let anything stop me. Meaning not having a manager, not having a label, any of those things.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think that like there's somewhat of this maybe misconception, like that certain people have it handed to them, or they're in the right place at the right time, which there is definitely that aspect, right? There are certain key things that people luck into, or they've got family, and so they're already sort of born into some aspect of it, but there's still so much work that has to be done. Especially like, and it's easier to look at people who do it in a way that looks effortless and be like, oh my God, they're just naturally talented. But you're like, no, they're just the ones working the hardest at it.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, so, I've seen a lot of, I don't know if everybody's working that hard. I'm not
true.
Like I've seen some people perform where like you literally just pressed play. You sang a few songs in your living room and you thought, here I am, world. So I'm not going to say that I think everyone works hard, or as hard as maybe I will at some point. But I do think I've come to a point where I, because I work so hard, do kind of make it look easy. Like the singing and the dancing at the same time, especially when I'm performing live, I hopefully don't look like I'm breathless, that I'm about to pass out even when I feel like I am.
Yeah, right.
And after the show, people say they enjoyed it and never say like, wow, that was hard to watch. You look like you're gonna fall over from it. Like, no one has ever said to me, you were working really hard. We could tell you were working really hard. They're like, oh my God, that was so much fun. That's all the hours and hours of work I've put into those rehearsals to make it look fun.
100%.
Yeah, but that's just the work ethic I've always had of just put in more work than everybody else, because once you're on that stage, it's only you and people are ruthless. So you need to be as good as you can be.
And you're naked up there, right? I mean, there's this sense of, even if you've got a band behind you, you've got other backup dancers, like people are staring directly into your soul. And you're like, okay, hope this goes well. Hope I don't trip,
Yep. And
why? Go ahead.
Sorry, but what's great is I've had the worst of the worst happen to me on stage. People have thrown things at me. People have, like, I used to hand out flyers before the show and people would write the F word on the back. I'd see the flyers that weren't taken, so I would take them back and people would write, bag on it and stuff. Yeah. And so I've been laughed. I look back at videos on shows and people in the front row just laughing. Like none of it is serious to them. And so I've had all that heartbreak. Like you give your heart away, you share it with people and they literally think it's a joke. That has happened. So I've seen the worst. And by seeing the worst, I'm able to go out there and say, whatever you do to me right now, I am still giving myself, and your opinion of it in no way is going to stop me or destroy me like it
Yeah.
might have.
How do you, I'm curious about this, and knowing also that you've dealt with some bullying in your past as a kid and all that, and like,
Yeah.
and all, like every good queer has, like, how
That's what I'm
have
saying.
you, yeah, how have you been
Yeah.
able to turn that into building that muscle and building an armor for yourself rather than just building a wall?
I mean, I don't know if I have. I mean, that's a good question. I think personal life is very different than professional life. I
Mm-hmm.
think professionally, I am able to put myself out there and still feel like I have some sense of control, some sense of like you can never let the audience win in a way. They can never
Right.
take over. Truly, like you always
Yeah,
have
sure.
to be in control. So I know
Yeah.
how to do that. I know how to give and take with an audience. I'm not saying that personally I'm not quite shy. And I
Yeah.
think most people meet me and are surprised at how shy I am. I think that contains the remnants of what I went through as a kid.
Sure.
But I think I've wanted to push through that through my persona of J-Line.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to be shy in real life and be shy on stage. I needed to express myself. I needed to be seen in a way. And I'm able to
Yeah.
do that through J-Line.
Yeah. I think that there often is this desire amongst artists, amongst queers, amongst a lot of people to create a separate persona that you can use to have, you know, to express some part of yourself that maybe otherwise is tucked behind some level of trauma or behind that wall, whatever it may be. How did you first find that character, and what part of
Hmm.
you had the courage to be out in front, even though the quote unquote maybe real you was shyer?
Right. It's so funny. Randomly, I started watching a documentary on Joan Rivers. It came out maybe
Okay.
10 years
Love
ago.
it.
It was
Yeah,
on
love
Netflix
it.
or something. She's fucking inspirational. And one thing she said in the documentary was, ask a nun why she's a nun. This was not a choice. This was something I had to do.
Mhm.
I went towards it. There was no plan B. This was just something I had to do. And I've always felt that. So even if I've stared down an audience that I knew was going to hate me, I still had to go on stage. I
Mhm.
still had to do it because not doing it would have been worse for me.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
pushed through the fear. I pushed through the ridicule because I just knew I have to do this. And I guess in a sense, I thought in the back of my head, I am talented in a way. I do
Mhm.
feel like I have something to share. And so that is what pushed me on stage to put myself out there when me in real life would never have done it.
Yeah.
And I think just the mechanics of doing a lot of rehearsal, that helps me feel more in
Mhm.
control on stage. I don't like to get on stage and not know what I'm doing. So also
Yeah.
being prepared and doing all that stuff beforehand makes me feel more courageous.
Yeah. And speaking about that, the rehearsal and stuff, like, just so people have a sense, what kind of rehearsal are you doing? How much are you practicing? What
Yeah.
goes into that?
Oof. Well,
I have to imagine a lot.
well,
I mean, having
yeah,
seen what I've seen, I have to imagine
yeah,
there's a lot.
yeah. I think the thing that always takes over is the dance aspect of what I do,
Mm-hmm.
because that is so intricate and takes so much
Mm-hmm.
time. So if I'm ballparking, I think it takes me about 10 hours to choreograph a 3-minute dance. So
Wow.
by myself in a room,
Mm-hmm.
choreograph it enough where I feel like it's good enough to then teach my dancers. So
Mm-hmm.
that's that chunk of time. Then to teach dancers, where I liken it to a musician. A musician can have sheet music in front of them.
Sure.
A Nicki Minaj can have the lyrics in front of her on a teleprompter. As a dancer, you have to have it memorized.
Yeah.
There is no teleprompter that will tell you what the next move is. So
Nope.
when it comes to rehearsing with my dancers, we have to rehearse and rehearse where if the sky is falling, we could still do the dance.
Yeah.
And that takes hours and hours. So I would say another 6 hours for one song to feel like it is as good as it's going to get. So that's just
Yeah.
the dancing.
Yep.
And then I, on my own, will vocalize, do my vocal warm-ups and practice myself singing, knowing when I'm going to do falsetto, when I'm going to sing full out, when I'm going to stop singing so I can dance, and how long am I going to take a breath after dancing so I can sing again.
Mm-hmm.
It can get very mechanical in that way. So it's a lot. The live show is so much work. And then it's the costumes, the lighting, the sound, all the things that I bring with us just in case the venue is crap. I have my own stuff that I can use. Yeah, it's a lot of work and a lot of money. But you know, I'm juggling as fast as I can. So
that's what it takes, right? Like putting in that level of intensity, that level of time, that level of commitment into something, and just saying, you know, let's hope that this pays off somehow, right?
You know, what's funny? I think the payoff is just doing it. I really do. I think the payoff is being able to perform, being able to tour and make music. I think I've kind of let go of that idea that this one performance is going to change my life, or this one song is the song. I'm just creating. I'm just doing my thing. And
I love that.
Hopefully one thing will lead to another thing. But I don't believe anymore in that, well, this is it, kid. You got one shot. Like, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
No, that's great. And I think that if you did think that, if any of us think that, we would just be in a constant state of despair. Because there's just,
and the nerves would be too high. If this is your one shot, it's like, well, of course you're going to fuck up because you're human. Yeah. So it's better just to think I'm putting myself out there, doing my thing, like it or don't like it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that you said is kind of not having a choice. Like you almost have to do this, but diving in maybe even a little back behind that, do you feel like there's a driving motivation for why you create music in particular?
I just think music fucking gets to me. It touches something in me that nothing else can. And I think that's either in you or it's not. I know actors will watch movies over and over again because they look for those minute choices that an actor will make. I will watch concerts over and over. And one of my talents is being able to 100% tell if someone is lip syncing. I am so good at it because I've done the thing. So I can say to him, there's no way that she's jumping up and down right now and singing live. There's just no way.
Yep.
So I love studying music in that way. I love studying live performance, especially what makes a good live performance. Why didn't it work out? This seems like it should have worked, but something's missing. I love that. So when I'm on the treadmill, when I'm doing anything physical, I'm always watching concerts because it always gives me ideas and always inspires me. Like, oh, maybe I should try that. I wonder if I could do that and still sing and hold a note that way. Yeah, just endlessly inspired.
Are there other aspects of your life that are quite, I don't want to say regimented, but like technically inclined? Because there does seem to be so much about what you're doing that kind of gets off a little bit on the challenge of it and the technical sort of mechanization of it, which I think is really interesting, right? Some people sing from a place of purely emotional, like for me, for instance, when I get on a stage, a lot of it is like attuned to the moment. I'm not doing choreographed dance. I have practiced the songs, but it's a lot of like, my songs change quite a bit from to even lyrics sometimes from performance to performance. And having that level of like technical expertise has not gripped me in the same way, where it seems like if you're watching footage, like almost like a, football player before the game, you're watching these other concerts and stuff to figure out how this is being done. There's something about you that's like quite technically inclined in a very cool and very visible way when you're performing, because it is like, it feels so perfect and so effortless in many ways.
I think I like the idea of pushing yourself to the limit. The idea that you're like covered in sweat, you're gasping for air, but you did it.
Yeah.
And nothing gets me there more than performing. And I am very physical. I like working out. I used to teach back when I couldn't make money at music. I was teaching all the fitness classes in New York City at all the gyms to make money. So I enjoy being physical. I enjoy working out, all those things, but nothing gets me to the level of pushing myself to the max than performing, because I will push myself to give more and more in that environment, more so than I will anywhere else. And maybe that high is addictive. Maybe.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yes. So
100%.
maybe I'm chasing the high,
Hey.
but at least, I'm getting a check as well. So there you
Yeah.
go. And it's not something detrimental. I'm not
Yeah.
abusing my body in any way. So
Well, and I was going to ask, how do you stay kind of healthy and in performance shape? I know part of that
yeah,
is just the practice, right? And just the doing the reps,
yeah,
but with
yeah.
your voice, how are you protecting that as well?
I've I've learned on tour especially because I'm a person that likes alone time. I like to gather my thoughts, and we are never alone on tour. It's me and my two
Mm-hmm.
dancers in my minivan with all our stuff in the back. We share
Yep.
hotel rooms, we share Airbnbs. So what helps me is getting up at 5 in the morning. I have a Planet Fitness membership, and I
Mm-hmm.
go to whatever Planet Fitness is in town. So if we're in blah, 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 Kentucky, I will find a Planet Fitness near the hotel and go work out in the morning. And that is my way of feeling strong so I can get on
Mm-hmm.
stage and
Yeah.
conquer the day, but also mentally being by myself at 5:30 in the morning saying, okay, the day is ahead of you. You can do this. It
Yeah.
centers me. That is the one thing that gets me through tour when you're on week 5, week 6, and you're
Yeah.
just over it. I need that hour of alone time in the
Mm-hmm.
morning to work out, to wake up, to tell my body, all right, body, this is what we're doing today. Please be up for it.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that really helps me. And vocally, I do my my scales, my vocal lessons for about 20 minutes every day before a show.
Mm-hmm.
And, try to drink a lot of water. I mean, I do have bad allergies and sometimes my voice will go, but
Mm.
that's the only thing, thank God, that has ever been a problem with my voice. I've never really lost my voice.
That's great.
I think because I take care of it,
Yeah. That's great. And I
Yeah.
hope you don't. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
me
an
too.
important thing.
Yeah,
It's an important
honestly,
thing for a singer.
even if you sprain your ankle, you can sometimes,
Sure.
but vocally, if you're not
Yep.
there, oh, it's the worst feeling. Oh, it's
Yeah.
the worst. It's the worst.
To be fair, if you were in perfect health otherwise, I imagine a handful of people at least would enjoy watching you just put a track of you singing on and dancing live on stage. So you've got that, which is
I thought you
it's
were
a slightly different show.
I thought you were going to say the opposite, which is like me just getting on stage and singing. Like, why the dancing? Just get up and sing. And it is something that sounds interesting, but I just can't do it. I've got
Yeah.
to move on stage. I've got to dance. I've never really thought about doing a show where I just sing. And I actually started that way. It's really funny. Like when I started performing, I did not have backup dancers. I had a live keyboardist and me, and I would do choreography with this keyboardist just playing, but just me, no backup dancers. That was fun, but once I had the backup dancers, there was no going back.
Yep. It's like a lot of musicians, right? There's I talked with B Steadwell. If you haven't seen them, you should check them out. They're great.
Okay.
But a couple weeks back, and they were saying that like if given the opportunity, since they've started playing with a full band, they will never go back, right?
Yeah.
Like they can kill it with a looper and just absolutely murder it on stage, and yet they still want to have the band. And I totally get that. There's something addictive about like also having your vision realized, right? Like, and it's hard to like take a step back a little bit and be like, well, we're just going to do a stripped down solo set on acoustic guitar this week. It's like, fuck that. Like, give me my backup dancers, give me my lights, give me a disco ball.
There you go. I'm like, listen, if we're doing an Instagram live, fine. I'll do a little guitar vocal. But if I've made the effort to drive to Chicago, I'm bringing them lights, I'm bringing them dancers, I'm bringing the costumes. Like, I'm here to put on a show. So no matter how many flights of stairs we have to walk up with our lights, we'll fucking do it.
Do you do your costuming, by the way? Because your costuming is excellent. I love it.
Thank you, Shein. No sponsorship. Thank you, Shein. Honestly,
Shein and Planet Fitness. I'm gonna have to reach out to them ahead of time. Be like, hey guys, trust me.
Literally, like the two cheapest companies that they're all get like $1.50. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's made costuming so much easier now because people expect new every time you perform.
True.
I don't have a budget for new all the time, so I can pick up the girls a $10 bodysuit and get it in every color. Like, I love that you can kind of shop and then it'll take you down this rabbit hole of things that you never thought even existed. Like, I love it. So
the algorithm, it's like, hey, we see that you like sparkly shit. How do you feel about this? You're like,
how do you feel about this rubber jumpsuit? I feel great about it. Bye.
Sequined cod piece?
Yes,
why,
please.
thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Shein. How do you know me so well? Yeah. Yeah. That's how it goes.
So speaking of being on the road, and you said like when you get to week 5 or 6, it starts to get quite difficult, and which is 100% true. What is your support network for things like that? Do you have people? You said you have a boyfriend that I assume maybe you're talking with, maybe sometimes shows up on the road with you. I don't know. What is your support network? Not a chance.
No. This is, and he's been with me 10 years now. He knew the drill when we got together. I go away for 2 or 3 months, twice a year. This is how I make my money. This is what we do. I will, yes, if it gets really bad, I will call him and he will be the sounding board. Like, I've had some, like, I've done some college gigs where people have protested and didn't like that a gay person was on campus, and they write articles and it's a whole thing. And like, I'm just here to fucking perform. And now there's like an article about me, like I did something wrong. So I'll call him when stuff like that happens. Mostly if it's not anything like that, I'm just tired and I just need to get to the hotel and sleep. And I've learned how to, kind of just like go inside of myself and just chill. And the long drives in between shows, that also calms me down. Listen to a podcast, just kind of like, talk to the girls, have a little conversation. That always helps.
Yeah. I assume that you got to get pretty close with the dancers that you have with you, right? Like there's no.
Yeah. And it's back in the day when I started this, I was just looking for dancers. Like, can you dance? Are you available? The more I've done it, the more I realize it is 50% about the dancing and 50% about you as a person, because we are together.
Can you hang?
Exactly. Yeah. So I have had dancers on tour that made my skin crawl and I couldn't wait to get back home.
Yeah.
And luckily that's been, 6 years ago. Now I know how to pick dancers. The dancers are my friends. I trust them. They are there to not only dance, but to help me if we need to, bring a speaker into a venue. And it's like, if you're in it, you're in it and you're here to help. And they are up for the task. So
nice.
I'm really lucky in that respect that I've been able to find people that I not only respect as artists, but feel are friends of mine.
Yeah, totally. And it's so important, right? Like, and for traveling bands as well, right? You maybe don't have dancers, but you've got a handful of people that you're with.
Right.
And there are so many bands that are absolutely amazing bands and cannot fucking stand each other. It becomes unsustainable, or the band splits. It's a little bit sad that that's the case, but it's so important, especially if you're in a minivan and traveling to these different places with people. It's so important that you can hang.
Yeah. I think the difference there that might make this work is the fact that it really is the J-Line show. So they know whatever
100%.
decision needs to be made. Like they ask me. Like I think with bands, it's more like a democracy. We all have a say, and that's when things get
except for the bassist.
He doesn't even care. He doesn't even care. Was he even at rehearsal? He wasn't at rehearsal. But with my shtick, it's like, okay, J-Line makes the decisions. J-Line will tell us what to do. And that makes everything a lot simpler. And I've learned people want an answer. They don't. 100%. So I always give an answer when a question is presented to me.
Yeah. Tell me what to do, daddy. Like,
kind of. Honestly,
it's what all of us were raised with. It's what we all believe, whether or not we want to admit it, one way or another.
Really, it's just like I give them an itinerary and we go. They are my children in the back seat, just hoping that I know what I'm doing. Right? I mean, it's really true.
Yeah.
So
and how much of that is? Yeah, I was gonna say how much of that is like, actually, I know exactly what I'm doing, and how much of that is, okay, I'm gonna smile and I'm gonna tell them exactly what to do. I have no fucking idea, but we're gonna make this work.
Right. I didn't before. I know now.
Yeah.
Great. I know now. Things have already happened that I know how to deal with them if they happen again.
Well, let's jump in, let's get specific with it and talk about one of your somewhat recent songs. And it was, I think, a pandemic song, You Belong With Me, right? It's very much this like super synthy dance banger. But when you get into the meat of it, you hear that it's a song about love. It's a song about longing. It's a song written by someone who maybe got out of a relationship and for whatever reason is feeling this pull back into it. It's kind of equal parts like a little bit teenage hormonal angst and also very emotionally mature, like conversation opener. It has this vibe that's like, it's amplified for by the video as well for the song, which feels like it is kind of happening in the pandemic, right? When I watch the video, which is really beautiful, it's also quite stripped down and intimate in a way that some of your other videos are not as much. And I think it felt like one of those things where some of the art that came out in the midst of the pandemic was very much like someone set up a camera or has one camera person wearing a mask probably, and they're on the other side of it doing their thing because shit had to continue. But it's a beautiful song. And let's talk about like, how did it first come to be? We'll start there.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Spotify, because somehow the producer of the song, David Schuller, he has a band called the Bad Dreamers, and somehow one of their songs came into my Spotify algorithm, and it had such an 80s vibe, that synth vibe, and mostly I think, you know, when a song can have all the correct elements but still not hit you. For some reason, the melody, it all hit for me, like viscerally. I connected to that song, and it was on my playlist, and I thought, well, who is this guy? So I look him up, and I very rarely do this, but I messaged him, and I found the way to message people is to just say you like their music. Don't say you want to work together. Don't say let's collab. Just say I really like your song. You know, it feels like it's
super
such a
good advice. Yep.
Yeah, just say like I did that with another producer that I worked with maybe 4 years before him. I loved his stuff, and I just said, I just want to tell you I love your music, and that's what got us working together. So I did the same with David, and I said, I don't know if you work with artists. If you do, I have a whole system where you can send me some instrumentals that you've created, and then I'll write over them, and then I'll send you what I've written, and then I can record my vocals in New York, and then you can mix them in LA, because he was in LA. And so he sent me about 3 or 4 tracks, and I wrote lyrics and melodies to all of them, recorded vocals on my phone, just as like, here's what it might sound like.
Scratch demo.
Yep. And I think we both agreed that You Belong With Me was the one to focus on. If I was going to spend any money on one song, let's do this song.
Yeah.
So I recorded my vocals in New York. He mixed them and mastered them in LA, sent me the song. And yeah, it was as clean as that. So
it's really good. It's like
thanks.
So radio ready and so ready to be just put onto a film. And like, it has so much pop appeal, and it's got this like deeply 80s feel to it. This like, it's simultaneously nostalgic and looking into this like little kind of twinkling future, which I really love. And I actually checked out David Schuller because of this song. And he's just a very talented musician, but also filmmaker, and quite deep and a little bit heady. And I wanted to ask you, because there's so much brightness in your work. Do you feel like some of David's like dark edges in the good kind of deep, dark onyx kind of way darken some of what you were doing in a way? Like,
yeah, I mean, I love dark music. I love, like, if I'm going to a musical, I'm going to Sondheim. I'm not going to Hairspray. Like, that's not for me. I love the dark, and maybe that's a good observation, that even though it's an upbeat song, the topic is so melancholy and so dire, in the sense that we don't get back together. You belong with me, but it's not going to happen. Yeah. And I think a lot of my songwriting comes from that space of what could have been, how did we mess up? How do we make this better? How do we reconnect? And sometimes it's not about someone that I've dated. It's about a friend. I think friend breakups are just as traumatic as romantic breakups.
Sometimes more so, even.
Yeah, and there are friends in my life that I still think about and wonder, what did we do? Can we be friends again? What happened? So I think You Belong With Me is kind of both of those things, like thinking about relationships that didn't work out, that were romantic, and friendships that didn't work out, and just wondering, we should be together. Why aren't we? But knowing there's a reason, so we ultimately won't. I think it's a happy, sad song.
Yeah. Is the process that you like, the actual physical process of making it, is that kind of how you do a lot of your work, or do you sometimes go into studio with producers, or?
Yeah, so I used to everything. It's like pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. It was like
Yeah,
a
I know.
different
I
world.
know.
I used to have a producer, and he had a studio. His name is Roman Dunn, and he used to have a studio
Hmm.
called Miratone Studios in New York. We worked together on a lot of my music in person. We would produce together and do vocals together. That was great. Then the pandemic
Yeah.
happened, and I learned how to record my own vocals and semi-produce my own music. And
Sure.
now I can just, there are beats everywhere. You look somewhere, there's a
Yeah.
beat. So I can
Yeah.
go to different websites, look at different producers. There are thousands of beats out there, and I just write to whatever I like. And if I like it enough to record it, I will purchase the beat from that producer. Kind of like, I don't know if you probably know this, but Old Town Road, that was a purchased beat that
Uh-huh.
Lil Nas X bought from some
Yeah.
producer in Iceland or something. I don't remember where.
Yeah,
But it was
right.
like, a $200 beat that he bought and wound up being the number one song ever in the whole world.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it works for me 90% of the time if I'm not working with a specific person like David or Roman. And I kind of like it that way. I get to just
Yeah.
call my own shots. I'm not super nervous because the only thing about working with a producer is, I'll just be honest, there is a cost. A producer will not work
100%.
with you unless you pay with them. Pay them.
100%.
And
Yeah.
it is in the 1,000 or higher range for one song. So if I'm paying $1,000 for one song, this better be a good song. So you
Yeah.
can't just record the song and then look at it and say, oh, well, it didn't turn out that great. I'm not going to release it. Oh, I'm releasing it. I paid $1,000 for it. I'm releasing
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah,
now when I
totally.
produce music at home, if I don't like it, I didn't spend any money on it. So
Yeah.
there's more of a freedom now producing my own music, producing my vocals than there was before. But when it works with a producer like it did with David,
Yeah.
you get a great result.
And there's certain times where it makes sense to be like, oh, okay, I've written this song and I think it's okay, but I feel like if I had someone else come in and really punch it up, like
Yeah.
it has the potential to be something even better than I can make it. And
Yeah.
that's when it makes sense. But oftentimes it's the song itself is going to carry something within it, or it's being utilized as this piece to move the show forward or whatever it might be, where like I have, 4 or 5 songs in each set where I'm like, these songs are great. Also, they would never be on the radio, and they're not,
Yeah.
they're just not that kind of song. And so putting that amount of, like you said, money even into it, or effort or time or whatever, it doesn't always make sense. And I think that that's something that like people don't really necessarily let's call them lay people, non-musicians, non-people who
Yeah.
are, trying to make music their career. They don't necessarily get that if you're putting out a 12 song album, you're probably spending as a musician $15,000 on it, somewhere in that range. And
Yeah.
so then when you are trying to recoup that money, let's say, like it's not happening on Spotify, how many billions of streams would that have
Right.
to be, right? Like
Right.
this is where I think coming back to like live shows, coming back to just supporting artists that you love is so, so important, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
back to that idea of a support network outside of just the touring, what do you find sort of like supports you most as an artist? Is it through live shows? Is it through, do you have Patreon? Do you have something like that? Like what helps you continue?
Yeah. Where the money coming from? Is that,
Yeah. Where the money at?
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. No. And I will say before I tell you the answer, that is the number one thing. If someone literally came up to me and said, I want to be just like you, a recording artist, what do I do? I would say, get your money, because
Yeah.
it's expensive and people expect it to look and sound perfect.
Yep.
The videos need to look perfect. The music needs to sound perfect. There is no, you're an independent artist, so I'll give you a pass thing.
Yeah.
People don't care. So I knew a long time ago I needed to have all the money, because nothing cute about a broke artist. It's just not, it's not cute. So I do live shows, and that's how I make my money. So when I'm on tour, I will do, not corporate gigs, but like campus stuff that I talked about, like universities, stuff that I can't really invite people to. It's not like an open performance, but I get paid for it. So that is a bona fide check that I know I can pay for the hotel, the dancers, the car, all that stuff. The night shows, that the tour, the Dirty Pop Party tour, that is more question mark. I may make some money, I may not make some money. And if I was going on tour for only those shows, I would not be able to sustain life on tour. So I have fashioned my life to be where I do shows during the day, which are the paid gigs, and then do the night shows, which are for myself, for my career, for cultivating my audience.
Yeah, for getting those stands.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
No,
So
that's great.
all the money comes from live performance. Yeah. I'd love to get into the licensing world. I don't know how to do it, but hey, you put my song on the White Lotus, I'm there. I'll catch that check. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. So let's jump over then. I mean, this has been great to hear kind of like how music has informed your life, but there is the other half of the podcast after the period there, the gay part. Let's talk about it, right? Let's have a little conversation about queerness. First off, the lexicon is constantly growing. We're running out of letters in the alphabet, and it's so fun for me personally to hear how people define their sexuality. And I know that you've said gay, but how do you define your queerness for yourself, or is it just gay?
Yeah, it's so funny that I don't really even. It's such a part of me now that I don't even think about it or question it. Just gay. Just gay. It's gay. Yeah. Like literally women do zero for me. Yeah. I enjoy, gay men, I enjoy a beautiful woman, but it like, oh my God. Like, it just, no, not for me. So
you enjoy a beautiful woman from a distance. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I have a nice poster of you up on my wall. But, not for me. Not for me. Yeah.
So do you feel then that you have a pretty firm grasp on your sexuality and your identity and all that? It's pretty much.
Yeah, I think I do. I'm gay. I've always been gay. And I enjoyed, it's so funny. It's like, I was just, when you're just you, I was just me. I mean, I think I twirled around in, my mom's dresses when I was 6, 7, 8, but that's just, But then I grew up and I don't feel that need anymore. So that makes me who I am at this moment. Maybe I will in 10 years, but for right now, I like dressing up in my glittery stuff on stage. But in real life, I'm more just like, like myself. Yeah.
Yeah. You give me slight like fashionista Berlin vibes, which I do.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. Yeah. I mean, fashion has always been something that I've loved, and I'm constantly updating how I look. The mullet has been around for a while. This is the longest I've ever had a hairstyle, and it's going to be hard to chop her off one day because who will I be? But like I just love playing with my look and fashion, and I don't ever want to feel stagnant. I don't ever want to feel like I'm stuck in one place, and I think fashion is a great way to express yourself and try something new. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, and I think it's funny how fashion and the LGBTQIA community are like so intrinsically linked. Yeah. When it's like, hey, everyone else out there, by the way, you can get into fashion too. Like you don't have to suck cock to wear a nice shirt.
Well, it's funny. I will be everywhere. So let's say I am in Texas or Arkansas. People, locals will enjoy the hair and comment on it, but they don't know that I'm doing it for a different reason than they might be doing it. Like a mullet. Well, a mullet in Alabama.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's something like
this mullet came with the truck, actually.
Right. Like mine is a little bit of a pastiche, a little bit of a send, a little bit of a wink. Whereas, an Alabama mullet is it just
unironic.
Yeah, very much so unironic. So
there's a different party happening in the back for you.
Right. Yeah. So they may be enjoying what I've grown here, but it's for different purposes. And hey, if that's what makes me connect with the Alabamians, hey, I'm all for it. That's fine. Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
In your music, right? Like do you find quite, aside from the fact that you're writing love songs often about men, do you find that there are intersections of your music and your queerness that are like more obvious to you?
What do you mean?
I mean, I mean, like, are there parts of your sexuality that inform your music explicitly?
Interesting. part of my sexuality inform my music? I think it's interesting because I'm going to go to like the base answer of like, I'm a gay guy, so I love pop music.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I just think it's in my blood. I've always loved pop music. I never saw it as something that was less than, or especially since I'm someone that doesn't hold a guitar. I sometimes feel that from people like, where's your guitar? But I've never felt that. I just felt if you're entertaining people, just fucking entertain them. You don't need to hold an instrument. You don't even need to sing live. If you're dancing and giving me everything, I don't need you to sing live. I'm entertained. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I think, a bit of queerness comes there with the fact that I love pop music. I love the aesthetic of it, the lights, the glamour, all the things. I love my pop queens. And I think that's a very interesting thing that gay men, such as myself, tend to gravitate towards the female recording artists. I'm sure there's a deep dive that's been done somewhere that lets us know why this is, but you look at my Spotify, it's mostly pop girlies. I enjoy the Troy, I enjoy the Sam, but they don't hit me in the same way that the Janets, the Kylies. I don't know why. But
that is interesting. You say you're sure there's a deep dive, and there probably is, but I haven't seen it, and I'm now going to have to look that up because I'm deeply curious.
I mean, listen, I've got nothing to lose. I'll say whatever I want. I do feel when you perform for a male gay audience, let's say you're at a gay club or something, there is shade that gay men can only throw to other gay men. And I feel that a little bit. It's like, like, what are you about to do? Where you would think our community would be more supportive and open. We're just not built that way. We're more so like, we don't like you until we do like you. So I feel like I have to work even harder to perform for a gay audience than I do for any other type of audience. Because you really have to fucking prove it. If you're a gay guy trying to win over a gay male audience.
I think there's a couple things there to unpack, right? Like there's the fact that there's been a world that's a little bit against you for being who you are. So they're not necessarily just going to straight up accept you. And now as there's like this sort of thankfully trending a little more like gay is in vogue, there might be this little bit of a sense of like, well, okay, just because you're gay doesn't mean you're special, right? Like, what are you going to bring, especially amongst other gays, right? Like, they're like, what are you bringing outside of just being gay and gorgeous? Like, come on, let's entertain me.
But listen, I would do the same thing. If some guy got up, he's like, hey guys, I'm going to sing a song. I'd be like, like, I get it. So I'm not saying that I wouldn't do the same thing, but that's just how it is. I just think until we get a couple of really mainstream gay artists, keep the momentum going. I feel like Lil Nas X has fallen a little bit. Troye Sivan, not so mainstream. Sam, not so mainstream anymore. We need to be super mainstream so that it's more accepted and more like, oh, right. Here's another gay recording artist performing. Rather than always needing to prove ourselves,
Sure. I would love to know, like, what are the aspects, since we're still on the subject, what are the aspects of your queerness, shall we say, your gayness, that bring you the most joy?
Dick. No, I'm kidding. Aspects. You know what? Okay. I think when I can't speak for anyone else but a gay man, which is what I am. I think when you're a gay man and you come up in the world, you kind of have this thing about like you think like, this isn't real. This is all bullshit. You just have this look on life, this outlook that no one else has, where nothing can really surprise you and you don't really accept things that are told to you. Like, things need to be proven to you because you've grown up with people telling you gay is wrong, you need to change. And inside you knew, no, you're fucking wrong. I'm right. I don't believe what you're saying. And to feel that as a young child, you kind of grow up thinking like, this is all an illusion. Like, what you say is right is not actually right. You're
Mm-hmm.
judging me when you should be judging yourself. Take a look in the mirror. I've done nothing wrong, and yet I'm going to hell. Like, all those things kind of compile to make you a stronger, more opinionated person, which I think is a good thing. I feel like you just have you don't tolerate things as much that are negative, and you are more likely to stand up for yourself and what you feel is right because you've been judged for no reason. You have been told that you are less than for no reason. And so it builds this inner strength. I would not be who I am today if I were not gay, if I had not grown up in the family I had grown up in the environment, Italian, very masculine family that I grew up in. I would not have the strength to say, I'm going to be a musician. If you don't agree with this, I cannot speak to you anymore. You can't ask me when I'm going to pick a new job. You can't ask me how I'm paying rent. I'm going to figure it out and support me, or don't ever speak to me again. And I did say that to my family. And I feel I had that strength to say that because I had already come out and been ostracized and labeled. And so I thought, well, fuck this. Nothing's real. I'm a good person and everyone's abandoned me. Well, fuck it then. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And I don't think I would have gotten to that point had I not been gay.
Yeah, there's like this sort of simultaneous lesson in you're being taught as a queer individual, as a gay man, to both be radically self-acceptant and also a very powerful critical thinker. Because if someone else is telling you you're wrong and you've already grown to accept yourself, you're like, oh, well, actually you're wrong. So now I got to think about everything else everyone has told me as fact, when you're stating that this is a fact and it's so clearly not, because like you previously mentioned, you love dick. So yeah. Okay. That's great.
Yeah. And it's, if I understand people, if their family is on board and they have been abandoned and isolated for no fault of their own. And it's just, I think we also are able to laugh at very deep, dark. I have a very dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from having to deal with very dark personal things and being like, well, might as well fucking laugh about it. Yeah. Because some of this shit is just too funny not to laugh about. So I think also sense of humor is a huge thing that I've cultivated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, for better or worse, like the world does tend to turn gay men into comical characters, and whether they turn them into it or they're just celebrating the fact that so many queer people are quite funny because maybe of that darkness, because of like, maybe some of it's a little bit of a defense mechanism, and we're like, oh, we're going to be funny because this is how we fit in.
Right.
Whatever it may be, it seems to be quite true. And not to completely paint with a broad brush over everyone. I'm sure there's plenty of extremely drab, not at all funny gays out there. But
I've met them.
Yeah.
They're out there. Don't worry.
They're definitely out there.
Yep.
But I appreciate that. And I appreciate that there are struggles that you've been through. And if you're feeling like sharing any of those, I'd be very happy to hear what are some of the things that you've struggled with most personally, whether it's the bullying or the whatever it may be. By the way, can I just say, so New York of you to have 4 or 5 sirens go by. So.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? What is so horrible is it didn't even register for me.
I know,
you had to bring it to my attention. I'm like, oh, right, the piercing sound that happens 24 hours a day. Right. Yeah, it's background noise to me. I think it's twofold. I think coming into this business, wanting to be a recording artist and knowing that I couldn't be gay when I started out, that was very difficult because I tried to not be gay and I'm just gay. Like, you meet me, I'm gay. It's going to come out. So that was very hard to feel like I couldn't follow my dream because you can't be a pop star and be gay. So that was very hard to understand when I was starting out. And coming out to my family was really difficult because I came out And then it was like I had never come out. And we didn't talk about it for maybe 3 or 4 years until finally I, said to my mom, we need to talk about this or we don't talk ever again because I want to tell you all of my life, not a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when your family is not 100% behind you, that can, do something to you.
Yeah.
I think it makes you a little harder inside, a little more wanting to be less vulnerable, a little more self-reliant. I think that those two things were really hard. I mean, the bullying I went through in school, kids are horrible. They're horrible today. Kids are horrible people, and they will say the worst thing that they can because they just love saying it.
Yeah.
I can see how that made me shy as an adult now. I can see how it had an effect on me, but I think the family aspect and the recording career aspect, feeling that I wasn't going to be accepted into this industry that I wanted to so be a part of.
Yeah.
It made me a little bit of an exterior in me, a little bit of hardness, but I'm still vulnerable. I'm still me, but it did give me a suit of armor.
Okay. That's good to know. And I think it's interesting to think about that especially with the industry, right?
Yeah.
There have been so many closeted superstars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think the industry is very clearly changing now, both in just the way that the whole music industry works and the fact that half of the new musicians we're seeing are from TikTok now and not dragged in from some, scout from a local open mic night. That's not the way of the industry has changed so completely. But also I think with the ability to be open and to be out, that's starting to shift now. And I think that's a good shift to have happen. But who were some of your, whether in the industry, gay or otherwise, who were some of your heroes as you were sort of coming into both music and into yourself as a gay person?
I would say all the pop stars of the 2000s, even the 90s, the Janet, the Michael, the Britney.
Yeah.
Lately, there's an artist, I always mention her. Her name is Dawn Richard. She was in a band. Oh God, what was it called? Do you got a first aid kit handy? What were they? Danity Kane. She was in a band called Danity Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a reality show thing. She does her own thing. She's doing her own thing for 10 years. Her music is so good and so avant-garde, but pop, but she dances and has backup dancers.
Nice.
And so whenever I want to kind of go in my artistic realm, my mind, I will put on one of her videos, one of her songs. She constantly inspires me as an artist from today. I just love, I went to the Madonna concert. I did.
Yeah.
And will I say that I love dissecting it because when I tell people that, I say it's a great show that she was not great in.
Yeah.
She is not giving you anything, but the show itself is her best. And that is what I love about going to concerts. Even if it's a bad concert, I can learn something.
Yeah, cool.
But mostly stuff from the 90s and 2000s because that is what I do. I perform, I dance, I sing, I put on a show. Those people I feel really at the level, like you said, Michael Jackson, the level of performance and showmanship was so high that I try to emulate that and get that vibe when I'm performing, when I listen to music, when I create. Yeah.
Love it. So we're getting towards the end here. I want to ask you, what's your biggest dream for your life? Just a little small question for you.
Sure. It's still Madison Square Garden.
Cool.
Yeah. It will always be live performance for me. I know some people, it's like a number one song or blah, blah. The biggest venue that I could perform in, Madison Square Garden. That's what I want. Yep.
Love it. What's a little dream for yourself that you've already achieved?
Honestly, the apartment I live in right now.
Yeah.
My Pinterest was full of floor to ceiling apartments in New York City. That always felt like the biggest dream I could ever attain. And I live in one of those apartments now. That is a huge, huge life in New York City is so different. and I'm just going to say it because I've lived in the floor walk up for years and years. Life is better in a luxury building. It just is.
Nice.
The jig is up.
Nice.
Yeah.
No turning back.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is the ideal world for an artist?
A world that is imperfect. Because if it's too perfect, you won't have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
You always need something to be a little mad about.
Yeah.
A little unhappy about, a little, like you need that tension. And if everything's perfect, the tension isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. I like that a lot. What is something that you would tell little you about being a musician? Little baby J-Line.
Oh my God. He was just so sensitive, that little man.
Yeah.
I would say, oh boy. I would say no matter what, just do you. It's going to be very hard, but you will be okay. You are very strong. You will be okay. Just do you.
Do you,
Yep.
boo-boo.
Yep.
Love that. What is something you would tell little you about being queer?
Oh God. Same thing. Do you. You are strong. You're going to be okay. There's nothing wrong with you. Do you?
I think that's great advice. And I think that that's just a great thing to say to a kid in general.
Yeah.
So many people are trying to tell kids, well, this is what you should do. This is what you should do. Or they're wondering, what are you going to do when you grow up? Who are you going to be? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's like, what you're doing right now, just do you. Do it. Be strong. Be you. You're perfect.
Yes.
Keep going.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Lightning round. Buckle up. Here we go. You ready?
Okay. All right.
Where do you go when you die?
Heaven.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there a God?
I don't know where heaven is, but you go there.
Sure. Is there a God?
Yes.
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 Can anyone be a musician?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you believe anyone is really 100% straight?
Yes.
Yes. What is your favorite song?
Oh, no. Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know what? Right now, oh my God, what is it? Man, Got Till It's Gone? Janet?
Okay.
Yeah, I love that song.
Great. Book. Favorite book?
You're going to make me look so stupid. I had to look. I'm like, what book is
the
it? The
libretto for
the Bible. I do love the badass books. You Are a Badass.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they're always good.
Nice. Love that. What's your favorite color?
Black.
I can see by the outfit here.
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite flavor? It's going to be dick again, isn't it?
I'm a basic bitch, like vanilla. Vanilla bean. Yeah.
Sure.
Do it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. What's your word of the year?
I'm going to say slay.
Slay? Love it.
Yeah, I'm going to say it. Sorry.
Nice. Okay. Fuck, marry, kill.
Yeah.
But you have to choose them.
Okay. Oh, just random people?
Yeah. You have to choose them.
Oh, no. Okay. Kill Trump, obviously. Let's be done with it. It's over.
Yeah, sure.
Just gone. Marry. See, so funny. My boyfriend and I were just talking about this. I don't love celebrities. I feel like they're a little too polished, but I'm gonna play your game.
Yeah.
Maybe marry Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet? Okay.
Yeah, he's very cute. Sure.
Yeah.
And fuck. Oh, Grunk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm fucking Grunk.
Yeah. Fuck Grunk.
Whoever that football guy is, he can have it. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to write one line of a song with me, and my first two guests have written the first two lines.
Okay.
So we're on line 3 of this song. Okay. Line number 1 from Benoit was, God is an echo of your thoughts.
Oh my God.
Line number 2 from B was, God is the ocean in the blue raindrops.
Oh my God.
So line number 3. And for the record, I asked Benoit if he believed in God, and he was just like, no.
And then
straight up just no. And then the first word out of his mouth is God is an echo of your thoughts.
I need to hear that again. Just say it line by line and then line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God is an echo of your thoughts. God is the ocean in the blue raindrops.
Come with me, the sky is getting dark.
Love it. Love it. Yeah.
Because I ain't doing that God thing again. I'm like, we need a new narrative. Come with me, the sky is getting dark.
Love it. Yeah.
Then,
it's going somewhere now.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Come with me, the sky's getting dark. Love it. If this podcast had a slogan, what would it be?
Like, hey gay. Like, hey gay.
Hey gay.
Yeah. Hey gay.
Hey gay. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
That's it.
Hey gay. Is there anything else that you want to add? Anything that you want to say?
Come see me on tour. This is what I do all this work for. Just come. Mm-hmm. It's going to be and it's a good time. I don't tell people to come and support. That's bullshit. Come and have a good time. Yeah. I'm a good performer. I put on a great show. You will be entertained. It's a great time. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Love it. Cool. Well, that's it. J-Line, it has been so nice talking with you and getting to know you and your music. And I strongly recommend anyone who's tuned in to go right now to @J-Line Music on TikTok and Instagram to buy, download, and stream J-Line's music wherever you do that. There's going to be new bops coming out all throughout 2024. So check out jlinemusic.com to get hip to the upcoming shows he'll be rocking in your town in the US and Canada as part of his Dirty Pop Party Tour. You do not want to miss it. The YouTube videos will give you a taste of the live performance, but his dancing and his live shows are a whole fucking meal deal, so eat them up. Thank you, J-Line, and thank you everyone for tuning in this week. Cheers, queers.